Welcome to the Australian Championship.
Shot up the post and in. Continue to make history. This rivalry burns as bright as ever. That is just spectacular. It's incredible. Very good.
An historic rivalry as part of a new era. Welcome to the second game of our Saturday slate of Australian Championship action on SBS. Sydney Olympic looking to pull off a group stage revival against high-flying South Melbourne in a Hellenic heavyweight tussle. A very warm welcome to Jubilee Stadium for this Group A clash. It does not get much bigger with Australian football history and its new era colliding at one of Australia's longest standing stadiums, Jubilee. Just a stone's throw from Bestich Street, where these two clubs clashed so many times during the National Soccer League. All the makings of a great occasion and hopefully a memorable game of football to partner it in front of a packed house. Olympics campaign got off to a stuttering start after that opening night loss at Lakeside and a shock upset by Broadmeadow here 2 weeks ago, their win at Perry Park, thanks to goals from Ali Orglar, the competition's joint leading scorer, and Mas Menace. Michael Varkis has righted the ship. Let's go pitch side for the first time this afternoon to Andy Pascalides. How are you, Andy?
Well, it's that time where you decide who you think will win. Scan the QR code. I tell you what, this is a beautiful scene for me because I was 9 years old when I saw Pan Hellenic, which is now Sydney Olympic, play for the very first time, and this is the future here. So I've got to ask, you're Lebanon Haliti's son, aren't you?
Yeah.
Who's going to win today?
Olympic.
Who's going to win today, boys? Olympic!
Fantastic scenes down there at Jubilee, and who better to bring us all the atmosphere from the touchline today than the great Andy Pascalides. Let's have a look at the two teams. Just one change for Sydney Olympic after their win over Moreton City last weekend, with Gloria Manda and Cyrus Demi included in the same starting lineup for the first time, meaning Kiwi import Seth Clark drops to the bench. Ali Orglar, the man to watch for South, after scoring the competition's opening goal. He scored in all three of his Olympic starts so far. And for the high-flying visitors, just the one change for Sinisa Kohadzic as they look to go 4 from 4. Ollie Laval preferred to Campbell Dorvison up front, partnering Mani Agwek. Keeper Javi Lopez hasn't conceded since that opening game against Olympic. Braden Spink and skipper Marko Jankovic provide the cover in front of him again today. We'll wait to see whether Jack Painter-Andrews slots in alongside them in a back three, or is given the freedom as a fullback as he has been in weeks past. Saw them bring out the away strip for that opening trip down to Lakeside, but the famous Olympic blue is back. You can see Andy made the reference to Pan Hellenic. Sydney Olympic were known for about the first 2 decades of their existence. There's coach Labano Haliti, a big day for him, taking charge of his 104th Olympic game. He moves past Grant Lee as the club's second longest tenured head coach, behind only the late great Manfred Schaefer. 3 points would be the perfect gift for him today to celebrate that achievement. As for South Melbourne, everybody knows about their success. Their first NSL championship, you can see there in 1984, was won against Sydney Olympic. Their coach Sinisa Kohadzic, much earlier into his tenure than his opposite number, but he's drawn rave reviews for his style of play, and the results have followed since his takeover midway through the NPL Victoria season. A strong string of astute signings has only furthered the belief he can recapture some of the glories of years past at South Melbourne. And there's Jack Morgan, our referee. This is his third involvement in a South Melbourne game already during this championship. Took charge of their win over Moreton City Excelsior in round 2 after being the 4th official for the competition's opening game between these two at Lakeside a few weeks ago. All in readiness. Mani Agwek's been a big star for South Melbourne since rejoining, so perhaps fitting he gets us underway, and an opportunity for me to welcome in for the first time today the man watching this one alongside me, David Perkovic. How are you, Perko?
very, very well, and I'm very excited for this game. There's been a buzz in Sydney about this game all week, so really excited to see how this game goes. Very different conditions to the first round. It was very windy at Lakeside. Beautiful conditions. A bit of rain earlier today that make the pitch even smoother to roll the ball across, so excited.
It's drawn rave reviews from the players that have graced it over the course of this season. Looking no different today. A first touch for Cyrus Demi. Back into the starting lineup after he'd been, well, we thought forced out by Gloria Amanda after his signing between the end of the NPL New South Wales season down in South Australia and the start of this Australian Championship. But Labano Haliti has found a way to fit them both in today. Something for us to keep an eye on. Okay.
Definitely. I'm just checking out how these two sides match up, whether the submitted lineups and formations are accurate. Sometimes coaches play with us a little bit, or with the opposition, so to speak. So really keen to see in the first few minutes how they match up.
Cyrus Demi keen to leave his imprint on poor Marko Jankovic. He's not too unfamiliar with dishing out a couple of those himself, but on the receiving end of that first tough challenge of the afternoon. It's one of the friendlier rivalries around the competition. These two teams have been playing off-season matches for the past decade or so. It's become almost an annual event. It's raised up to new levels over the past 3 or 4 weeks, competing for those quarter-final places. Sitting first and second coming into the afternoon in Group A. A win for South Melbourne, as we told you in the intro, will secure their place in the quarterfinals. Pasquale tries to play that one in. Dangerous for a cheater. Eventually scrapped away by Ziggy Gordon right in the nick of time. And Amanda is away down the right. To have taken up that wing position rather than the central striking role we've seen him in to start the competition. What are you making of it, Perko? Were the two coaches playing silly buggers with us, or particularly South Melbourne look as though they're in that back three?
Yeah, it looks interesting. Orgala looks like he's setting up centrally as well as more of a number 10 position, which is, I don't think I've ever seen Orgala line up in that position before, so it'll be really interesting to see how he goes with Wirtz playing down on the left side. But yeah, interesting to see Glory on the right wing.
Position we haven't seen him in since his signing for Sydney Olympic. Jack Gibson's found a way to get the cap on, even under these overcast skies. Tim Quoll partnering Ziggy Gordon in the heart of defence for the second straight week. That looked a more secure combination than the one that started against Broadmeadow when they copped the 3 goals and the upset defeat. It's all looking a little bit disastrous for Sydney Olympic, but results have gone their way. And the win up at Perry Park last weekend has really helped them.
Really interesting to see South Melbourne here with their building up with a back three, and it looks like Painter Andrews is coming into midfield as an inverted fullback. So really interesting to see how that affects the game.
Different look to the one they gave Sydney Olympic on the opening weekend. Ball forward for Amanda, and he's managed to win Sydney Olympic an early corner here. Been much lauded for the way he's reinvigorised South Melbourne since taking over the club. Sinisa Kahadzic, he was the technical director from 2019 to 2023, had a short stint away in the Philippines as part of their women's system. Timely return for the start of this Australian Championship, and it has been almost nothing but success for South Melbourne since he joined. They've got some defending to do here though. Ball spilled towards Ryan Fuchs at the edge of the box. Toole trying to take it up. Between he and Gordon, they managed to block the clearance from Lampard. Still full of running, the Sydney Olympic skipper. Well known to A-League audiences of years past, Ziggy Gordon. Most recently at the Western Sydney Wanderers, a product of Hamilton Academical back in his native Scotland. Is Connor O'Toole just keeping the football for Olympic. You're seeing plenty of it in the opening stages of this game. A chance for Zoricic to stretch. Did well to play that one forward. Think he copped a bump for his trouble, but Orglar's not worried about that. Lays it to the top of the box, and Zoricic didn't get quite the purchase he was looking for on the strike. In fact, it was Josh Hong joining in the attack. Perhaps not a situation we're too familiar with seeing him in. It was a bit of a defensive midfielder's finish, I think we can say, Perko.
Yeah, it looks like Orgala got back to his more comfortable winger position, and Glory's coming in more centrally now. So this is what I anticipated to happen, but yeah, that little rotation earlier on threw us off a little bit. But yeah, the two number 9s is going to cause problems for that. Can cause problems for that South Melbourne defence.
Olympic looking as though they're enjoying the home comforts in the early stages of this game. South Melbourne trying to give them a sucker punch. Painter Andrews. First touch for Agwek in an attacking area. Clever enough to win his side their first attacking corner of the afternoon. You mentioned the conditions on that opening night. You were on the call, of course, Perko, on what was a blustery evening down at Lakeside. Tighter condition, well, rather more straightforward conditions for the players and a slightly bigger pitch. It is one of the larger ones around Australia Jubilee Stadium. So Pasquale over to take this corner. Plenty of white shirts forward as well. Cyrus Demi lending a helping hand defensively and clearing the danger. Will that give South Melbourne opportunities to break forward in transition if they get the opportunity?
Yeah, look, obviously the first game, football was heavily impacted by the blustery, windy conditions at Lakeside. So looking to see more of a tactical battle today. Already we're seeing something different from South Melbourne with Painter Andrews coming in from the right back position, receiving the ball in the 6, but he's turned over possession here.
Just got to be careful playing out of their own end. We'll head down to Andy Pascalides in just a moment. This ball's worked to the left. Painter Andrews. One forward's a good one. Zoricic just holding up Lampard. Painter Andrews again. Developing slowly, but could all end successfully for South Melbourne. Crossed in, easily knocked away by O'Toole. Donald's done well, and this is where Ryan Fuchs loves to be, with green grass in front of him. Stops, assesses his options. Hong. Coles puts Agwek on his backside. Now a chance for Zoricic getting forward from right full back. Gorgeous curling ball. It gave Orglar something to run for, and a coming together between Ian Yankovic. Referee quickly waves away the appeals, and that gives us a chance to go down to Andy Pascalides. How's the atmosphere down there, Andy? It's sounding brilliant through our effects mics up here.
It is fantastic, and the conditions here are perfect for a good game of football. 21 degrees. The light rain we had today hasn't really affected the pitch at all. Both coaches were out here for a decent time before the kick-off, and they were very excited at the prospect of a good, clean, easy game. And as we saw earlier, Olympic with the best chance so far.
Thank you, Andy. We'll be down with the broadcasting legends. Plenty this afternoon. Okay, just a quick thought on that penalty shout. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, a bit of a stretch. I would have fell down as well if I was Ali, but yeah, it would have been a surprising call if the referee had given it.
Another rather straightforward one here for Jack Morgan, and he's brought out the yellow card as well for Thomas Giannakopoulos. He's looking a bit bemused by it all. Not least because he felt the full force of Cyrus Demi, but content to block him off, and so he's going to cop the first booking of the afternoon. The South Melbourne holding midfielder, who's not unfamiliar with having his name taken. 7 times across the NPL Victoria season it happens. The Spartan contingent out taking this one in. Be hoping there's a fighting effort from their Sydney Olympic side today. It's Orglar and Donald, the two-man committee over the football. Right on 10 minutes. Olympic have started very brightly here. do win here this afternoon, they're a chance at catching South Melbourne before the end of the group. An outside chance, but suddenly moved to 2 from 2 after starting with 2 losses in Group A. Can they make hay while the sun shines? This early territorial dominance. Orglar, oh, and it's just struck the wrong side of the net. There are a few on the near side who thought it had found the back of the net. Chris Donnell applauding the effort, and it's taken a touch off the wall amongst all that, so Olympic will build further pressure from a corner.
I was a bit surprised with his yellow card, to be honest, but Ali Orglar with his famous left foot going very, very close. I'm sure Lopez had his range well.
Scored one in round 2 here, of course, against Broadmeadow. It was too little too late that day, and that ball in had too much power on it for even Ryan Fuchs, lingering at the back post. Mention some of the history between these two clubs in the pre-game. 1984 grand final was over 2 legs between Sydney Olympic and South Melbourne. The team from Victoria got the win by 2-1 across both legs. Their first National Soccer League championship.
Looking forward to South Melbourne get more of the possession in the opposition half, because we've got Laval coming up on the right wing with Uchida playing in behind Agwek.
He's trying to get on the ball here. Ziggy Gordon has just bundled the Japanese midfielder over. Won the ball cleanly, said the referee. Amanda having his shirt pulled, which was pointed out to the referee by the Olympic support. The whistle followed shortly after. Braden Spink following Olympics number 23. They're looking a little more fluid up front than we've seen from them over the first few weeks of this competition. Perko, do you think that's by design to try and counter some of the things they found an issue against South Melbourne the first time around?
They've definitely settled better out of the two teams. They've done very, very well to contain South Melbourne and not let them get into a rhythm. So the key part is when you're on top is that you get the reward. So no doubt Labano Halidi would want the team to have a little bit more creativity in that final third and get on that score sheet nice and early.
Seen Max Mikula gets in the action in an attacking sense down that left inside for South Melbourne. It's not his renowned long throw, just gamely throwing it back to Jack Gibson in the Olympic goal. Ball going route one. Wasn't too far from working out either. Crucial touch from Jankovic. Otherwise, Ryan Fuchs would have been in behind. What a goal-scoring record he's had since signing for Sydney Olympic from the Northern New South Wales competition, where he was playing with Edgeworth. After signing in the New South Wales competition, 8 goals in 9 appearances and only 7 starts for Labano Haliti. Scored on the opening day as well. Down out Lakeside. Brilliant challenge from Qual. Perfectly timed. O'Toole trying to feed Orglar. He's lost his whereabouts somewhat there, Ali Orglar. Ball travelling over his wrong shoulder. Quick piece of distribution from Lopez. And the chit is tricky enough to get the better of Ziggy Gordon. How's the delivery? Josh Hong back playing hero in recovery. But how about this bit of skill on the far touchline? Gordon thought he had him covered. And like a thief in the night, Uchida was away with the football and bearing down on the Olympic penalty area.
Unreal bit of skill on the sideline there by Uchida, but a desperate interception by Gordon to save that cutback that was heading straight to a South player. Didn't see who it was, but yeah, it was their first real moment of creativity in that final third.
So you can see that line of Olympic bodies ready for the delivery from Pasquale. Goes near post this time. Gibson forced to punch almost off the head of Agwek, who's then picked for a foul by referee Morgan. First bit of worry finding its way onto Labano Haliti's face. 104th game in charge of Sydney Olympic. Got past some great names in the history of this club as one of their leaders. Not the piece of silverware to show for it just yet. New role with the Central Coast Mariners as part of their football department. Some speculation as to just how long he'll be hanging around at Jubilee. Chase for Mikolat. He's looking to get that ball off Jordan Lampard. This game has settled after quite an open first 10 minutes. South Melbourne, as Perko told you, struggling to really get a foothold in the game. Seeing them build up from the back for the first time. Not particularly successfully. Just
giving a ball a little bit away cheaply, just a little bit forcing it. And that's a lot to do with how Olympic is setting up. But yeah, it's a nice arm wrestle at the moment with Olympic edging it at the moment. But yeah, obviously we're looking forward to those goal scoring opportunities coming more and more.
Ball's like trying to play provider. Big switch towards Fuchs. Lopez saw the whole way.
Interesting also to see how Kohadzic looks at how Olympic is setting up, because they didn't play like this in the first round. So it's interesting to see if there's any little subtle tactical tweaks to nullify the two number 9s. Whether he will get a defensive midfielder closer to his centre backs to create a little bit of an overload there.
I have to say, I'm delighted it's you in here with me today, Perko. It's not to have a go at Scotty Mack or Roy O'Donovan, but I know you live for this stuff. So getting your insights as Haliti and Kohadzic trying to figure one another out is going to be very, very entertaining over the course of the afternoon. And Olympic might do it with a lead. If Fuchs can get a shot away, dummies, and then release too late for Amanda. And you can see what he thinks of his own effort there.
There's definitely a bit of confidence in Olympic, though, after their win last weekend, which definitely should be, because they've started this game well, and they will want to get onto the score sheet nice and early into this game and really get their authority onto this game, not only in the football, but on the scoreline as well.
Cheetah is ducking out to the right-hand side. He's been given a lot of license by Kohadzic as to where he takes up attacking positions. Battling for it through midfield was Ollie Laval. We haven't seen too much of to this point. Cheetah getting in the back, and then a real come-to between O'Toole and Uchida. I think the referee will find that was much ado about nothing. Cheetah was not backward in coming forward, and Tenkwal's got to be careful he doesn't get himself into anything extra as well. Trying to pull the Japanese midfielder up. We know he's a fiery character, and he's keen to play the antagonist. Jack Morgan playing the role of school principal, telling off the adversaries.
Stamping his authority on the game.
Well, I said at the start, it had been a friendly rivalry really over the last 10 or 15 years. Perhaps we're not seeing evidence of that any longer.
I'm sure it's friendly before and after the start and final whistles, but during the 90 minutes, they're going to go at it. South Melbourne obviously want to keep their perfect record intact, and Sydney Olympic want to get themselves in the box seat to qualify as well.
Picture in picture showing you Uchida was just trying to work Josh Hong out of the contest for the football, and O'Toole gave him a shove. He was keen to make every inch out of it for the referee's benefit.
Yeah, haven't seen Laval too much in this game so far. We know what he can do when he plays up top, but haven't seen obviously too much of him out wide. So they want to get him on the ball and get him in behind Connor O'Toole as they try to do so here.
He's competing with O'Toole. Uchida takes up the attack for now. More blue shirts than white back there. Still it might find Manny Agwek at the back post. Can he sort his feet out? Bangs it into Tenkwal. He's able to steady himself and clear. Recovering header from Pasquale. He's kept the attack alive after the slip from Zoricic. And then a no-nonsense tackle from Ziggy Gordon. That's why he's much loved at Jubilee Stadium and Belmore, where Sydney Olympic have been based for most of the last 15 or 20 years. See this, he's got all the makings of a great centre-half.
Master of the strong tackle, always times it perfectly.
South Melbourne's travelling support, readying for the Max Mikkola long hoist into the area. He's got plenty of distance on that. Gibson climbing over both his own teammates and the opposition to get a fist to it. Let's get back towards goal. Tool's got to be careful here. Judged it beautifully.
South Melbourne getting a little bit more field territory now, which is obviously Kahadzic will be pleased about.
Uchida becoming more and more prominent as this first half wears on. Just a little desperation sneaking into that touch. Ball crafty enough to win his side a pressure relieving throw of some sort. Well, that's a development in the game recently, isn't it, Perkos? Teams taking kickoffs, basically just launching the ball into the back corner of their opposition. I'm assuming the statistics ring out that gives you a fair chance of winning the ball back either high up or in your own half.
Yeah, I think it just throws off teams a little bit in the sense that the first action they got in the game is near their own defensive third.
It wasn't the best clearance from Lopez, and Fuchs was trying to catch him off his line. Jankovic almost with a knee slide across the turf to make the block. Well, one back by Zoricic, who's had the better of that little battle with Max Mikkola in the very early stages of this game.
Brilliant by Tanquil. Just turning away from the striker there, away from pressure, setting up the attack.
Here's Fuchs. Donald. Now for that left foot of Ali Orglar. Returns it for Chris Donald. Curling effort, but never with really the power behind it to give Lopez a firm test.
What I'd like to see there with Olympic, just have a little bit more patience in that final third, develop some quality attacks rather than just rushing the shot off. They had the overload on the left-hand side with Orglar coming off his wing and joining the other side. Just need a little bit more patience, work the ball a little bit, build pressure. It's often when you find defences get nervous.
Just for Lampard to run onto this ball. Kept alive by Mikkola, who was taken late by Zoricic. Well spotted by Jack Morgan because the ball had travelled a fair way. He was, well, extremely late. I think it's fair to say, Zach Zoricic. It's a little fortunate that, given the yellow card we saw earlier, that he hasn't landed in the ball. Not that we're wanting to see that. Are they getting that man overload they're looking for with the Painter Andrews being part of a back three in the build-up? I'll let you answer that in just a moment, Perko, as Uchida turns. Laval wide on the right. Twisting and turning O'Toole. Aguek was thinking about the spectacular. Lovely little 1-2 between Fuchs and Demi, which is released the latter. And his ball for Amanda. We're just on slightly different pages. Mentioned the change that Mavano Haliti had made to include them both in his starting lineup this afternoon. I was just seeing evidence they haven't played a lot together yet.
Andrews is sometimes sporadically coming inside to create that midfield overload. I'd like to see a little bit more when they're comfortable on the ball, just to get that overloader on the two-man midfield. They could then have more success in one, field positioning and getting there comfortably, but also their rest defence. As soon as they lose the ball, they'll have the numbers in midfield to win it back as quickly as possible.
Something for us to keep an eye on as this game unfolds. South Melbourne have certainly come back into it after a slow start. Demi always a threat that needs to be watched closely. Donald got the final touch, which means a South Melbourne throw right on halfway. Rather agricultural from Sep Pasquale. Did the job. Labano Haliti, he's always active in his technical area. Directing traffic for his side. Facing their fair share of pressure in the defensive half over the last 10 minutes. Pasquale. Agwek. Oh, he was taken late by the challenge there from Ziggy Gordon. Not spotted by the referee. South Melbourne have the ball in any case, so happy to continue the build-up.
As we can see, Payne Andrews coming inside now. Back three. The actual back three in transition is quite good because obviously Sydney Olympics got two guys up front. They'll just have to be wary of the wingers in transition though. But yeah, if they can close down that ball really quickly after losing it in the opposition half, then we can have definite advantages in this setup from South Melbourne.
There's always a threat with Cyrus Demi as well, right? His hold-up play is one of the noted strengths of his game. Ability to bring his teammates into the action.
Both strikers definitely have a presence and they'll cause any central defender pairings some problems.
Actually, Yanakopoulos, who was matched up against him there as he dropped into midfield, did well to make sure the ball ended up at the foot of a South Melbourne player. So they build from the back again. Yanakopoulos. It's the only booking of the game so far. Val dropping deeper and deeper, trying to see a little more of the ball than he's had in the opening, just shy of half hour.
To be a little bit more patient in this build-up.
Tempo really has slowed in the last 5 or 10 minutes, hasn't it? Won't lead to openings though for South Melbourne if they can stay patient. Payne Andrews. Agwek with qualities back, returns it to Payne Andrews. A little deflection which made it a bit trickier than it otherwise might have been for Jack Gibson, but he was pretty solidly in behind that. Made the team of the week after his performance against Moreton City Excelsior. Big part of that 2-1 win up at Perry Park for Sydney Olympic that has just given their campaign a different hue. Interesting what both teams' attitude would have been going into this game as well, Perko, because 3 points for South Melbourne locks up progression, but 1 point means they only need a further point over the next 2 weeks. The Sydney Olympic, knowing their level on the other two, with the other two, Broadmeadow and Moreton City, 3 points probably more imperative for them. At the moment, it's South Melbourne who are providing most of the attacking impetus. Donald forced to clear. Olympic really struggling to get out of their own half in the last 5 or 10 minutes.
I think they both definitely have the similar balance of risk versus reward. I think as the game progresses more and more, Olympic might fancy it, and the game's in the balance. I think they'll probably risk a little bit more, but at the same time, they definitely would want to avoid a defeat, so they would want to get that balance right.
Lovely sweeping ball from Jankovic. It's just opened up some space for Max Mikola. Lampard was joining in, eventually reaches him, and wasteful. Promising attacking area with 3 in the box to aim for. Generally pretty good at delivering from those sort of positions. South Melbourne left fullback. It's a player's player in their campaign last season. Former Bentley player. I should say Green Gully player. Jordan Lampard.
Second ball win there by Connell.
Might give Cyrus Demi something to work with. A lot of options around him, and eventually wrestled off it by Yanakopoulos, who's right up for the physical task today. He's pretty keen to get as close to Demi as possible when allowed, as Uchida goes down under Donald's challenge. The whistle didn't follow, and then Qual bundled him off the ball a second time. Orgler has a lost cause to chase after. He's turned it into a half chance. Blue body's joining him in the box. Might look to do it all himself, Ali Ogla. Still he goes. What a brilliant finish from Ali Ogla. He didn't need the help. 4-4 for their new superstar. And what a way to reward those raucous fans. He picked his moments. And what a brilliant strike after the run to finish it all off.
What a fantastic bit of individual play here by Ali Ogula. 1v1 situation is deadly against defenders. Turning him inside out, and a fantastic strike on goal. Had enough power to find the back of the net. An outstanding 1v1 situation. And wraps it up with the finish as well. Fantastic by Ali Ogla.
Where would they be without him? What a sign. Had a brilliant season with Rockdale London. But perhaps we thought in New South Wales he could go to another level. He has done just that in the Australian Championship. A player who's been in and around A-League systems with the MacArthur Bulls in years previous. That's just a solitary A-League goal. It's a winner against Western United out at Campbelltown, funnily enough. But he is growing in confidence week on week.
If he keeps this type of form up, surely A-League clubs will be coming back after him again. Like, absolutely outstanding. Really knows how to stand up defenders, take them on 1v1.
Jankovic has got to regain his composure as well. How did that sound down on the sidelines, Andy Pascalides? What a finish.
I'm going deaf down here. That was an unbelievable goal. Goal of game, Agla. I tell you what, that's 4 in 4 starts for Sydney Olympic. Lebanon Haliti is actually smiling. I'm about 10 metres away. He is actually smiling. I will say this, Sinister and his coaching staff for South Melbourne thought there might have been some sort of foul leading up to the goal. But I tell you what, another classy goal in the Australian Championship. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, it sounded brilliant behind us. Why not? Don't get to see goals of that quality in the flesh too often. Josh Hong winning the free kick for Sydney Olympic in midfield has brought some lightning and really invigorated the atmosphere at Jubilee Stadium.
Be really interesting to see how South Melbourne responds now. Going a goal down.
It's funny because it was at a period in the game where they looked as though they had more control than they'd had almost at any other point.
Absolutely. As Olympic obviously started off the game in much more control, settled into the game a lot quicker than South Melbourne. And I made the comment that you want to get your rewards when you're on top, but they didn't take it in that moment. And South Melbourne crept back into the game, but against the run of play, so to speak, an individual moment of brilliance.
He keeps creating those as Gordon goes in very high on the run, and he goes down under some presence of Maniaguak. Ziggy Gordon, I think, a very worthy recipient of the yellow card for that challenge. It was wild, it was reckless.
It's going to take a lot away from his game now, being on that yellow card. He likes to be in your face, he likes that aggressive part of defending. Got to be very, very careful now, the captain.
Replay will give us a better look. It's an enterprising run from Paynter Andrews. Not quite as high as it looked on first viewing. See Donald slip there that opened the door, and actually might be a bit fortunate that Paynter Andrews did anticipate the contact and jump in the air before he caught him.
Not sure what Ziggy was claiming there. They got a bit of the ball, bit of experience there.
Must have been a toenail on it, if it was the case.
It's a mighty one long toenail
yeah.
there.
Every edge. You can gather as a player, isn't it, Perko?
Absolutely, absolutely. A bit of experience there, just claiming it straight away, try to get in the referee's head.
Let's see if South Melbourne can strike back from the resulting set piece. 4 in the wall. Mikola over it. Looking the most likely. Will he go direct? He goes the cross. Well, I'm not sure whether it was a South Melbourne head. Certainly had Jack Gibson with his heart in his mouth for just a moment. And the referee said corner kick.
Yeah, I thought it came off the Olympic defender there. Well dealt with by Sydney Olympic.
Provide a good quality from these set pieces. Gone short from the resulting corner. Amanda doing the clearing initially. O'Donnell and Uchida into another physical battle. The Japanese midfielder. Again, he's found the rough end of the stick from his point of view.
Yeah, he doesn't mind the physical stuff, that Uchida. Obviously, he's highly technical, but good to see that he's adapted well to the Australian game, because it's definitely a part of our game here, and throws himself about it quite well.
On the Bill Fleming medal down in Victoria as the player of the season with Dandenong Thunder. South Melbourne very delighted that they were able to get his signature, bringing it in alongside this revamped front line with Agwak and Laval. Smikler really the only one retains the starting lineup from the regular season. The quality of Seb Pasquale has been tremendous through midfield. Giannakopoulos, who was that particularly through the back end of the season for South Melbourne. Screening role. Here's Laval. Hong, who's put in an improved display, I think it's fair to say, as well, Perko.
It's definitely cleaning up a lot of that dirty work that needs to happen in midfield for Sydney Olympic.
What an afternoon to forget against Broadmeadow a couple of weeks ago. With Cole back in that central defensive role, in his preferred midfield position. He's running the game a lot better.
It's something that Kahadzic may consider for just until half-time. I don't see Laval doing too well out wide on the right, and whilst Uchida is effective in the middle, I just wonder if you just swap those two around, get Laval closer to the box and to the goal, because obviously his goal scoring is where his qualities lie, and then creating some moments where Uchida can be good in 1v1 moments. We definitely saw that in the opening game against Sydney Olympic.
Saw it last weekend as well against Broadmeadow. Got the deciding goal just before half-time in this minute of the match, funnily enough.
A little change just before half-time might cause some problems for Sydney Olympic.
Connor O'Toole's looked pretty comfortable to this point at the full-back for Sydney Olympic. Another one of those Olympic players with A-League men's experience. Amanda for Orgla. Trying to return the favour. This time Jankovic was very much in front. I'll tell you what, he was rather casual about it all. Perhaps he knew what he was thinking. He's played off the defense, off the attacking player and win my side a goal kick. Painter Andrews. Caught off by Donnell, who's covered plenty of ground across that midfield area of Jubilee Stadium so far this afternoon. Squally over Donnell. Uchida. South Melbourne able to hold possession. Hasn't been the fruitful route to goal. I'll remember as well, they trailed in that opening game down at Lakeside as well because of an Ali Orgla strike and did manage to equalise in the shadows of half-time.
Kahadzic obviously not happy there.
There was a feeling early in the game that Sydney Olympic fans thought they weren't getting the rub of the green. That narrative has certainly flipped from a South Melbourne perspective. It's been a fiery game. We weren't expecting quite that, but there is so much on the line this afternoon, particularly for Olympic. South Melbourne could guarantee their progression through to the quarterfinals with a win here. Heidelberg missed out on that opportunity last night against Marconi, coming from behind to claim a 1-1 draw after a delayed kickoff. Earlier result today, Avondale giving themselves some breathing room in Group C. Another turnover in midfield as Laval came deep to try and get on the ball. It's allowed Olympic to try and create another attack. Bit of skill from Donald, didn't reach its intended target. Almost too many players trying to put their hand up at the moment for South Melbourne.
Yeah, in the last few phases of play, a midfield has been splitting the central defenders to pick up the ball. Kind of like Payne Andrews coming inside and leaving the defenders.
Well, Jack Morgan thought about blowing for a free kick there. He took a long, hard look and then pulled his whistle away from his mouth. Hopefully for those frustrated Olympic fans, it's all turned out okay.
Kind of want your midfielders to receive the ball beyond that first line of defence. As we can see here,
Yanakopoulos.
That's the name we're looking for. There we go. Yanakopoulos.
Famous one in Greek football.
I would rather him receiving the ball beyond the striker line rather than receiving the ball here. Because then you're relying on Laval to drop in and pick up the ball in areas that he's not really that comfortable with. Payne Andrews creating that overload earlier on in the game in those midfield roles seemed to have been working, but never really did it off goal kicks. Just like to see a little bit more consistency in their build-up and how they're trying to build up, get players to receive the ball in midfield, facing forwards, and that's when they look dangerous.
Olympic's defence looking more comfortable, I think, than it has at any points so far in the competition. Allglass, even with his pace, not able to keep that long switch of play in. It's been a long time since South Melbourne have won up in Sydney against Olympic. Dating back to the NSL era, it's 8 visits to Sydney Olympic without a victory.
Just want a little bit more ball speed here from South Melbourne, just to mobilise the defensive structure of Sydney Olympic as they work the ball in the final third here.
It's a chance for Mikkola to cross. It's towards the cheater. Laval, Fuchs got himself in a right old tangle and then did well recovering defensively. Demi with a defender all over him. Braden Spink was not keen to let him go, and the whistle has gone the other way. Jack Morgan said that Demi was using those long arms to hold him into his back.
That is an absolute bizarre call there by the referee. You could clearly see the South Melbourne defender wrapped his arms around Demi.
Love a second look at this. I wonder if he had hold of his jersey at any point.
He did.
That's what he spotted.
Yeah,
that's what he spotted, that tug on the sleeve.
Which wasn't in camera view, so...
Good pick up, Jack Morgan.
Yeah, well
Good
done.
piece of refereeing. Not sure it'll make him too popular in the eyes of Olympic fans nonetheless.
No, because they probably would have seen our view, right?
That's right.
So they wouldn't have seen the hand on the opposite side, so... Brave decision, but the correct one.
Olympic have seen off the resulting free kick and further phase of play. South Melbourne have barely been able to muster a shot in anger during this first half. It's a rare rut so far in this competition that they've found themselves in here at Jubilee Stadium. To finish that point in their last win here, it was back in February 1998. They were playing out of Belmore Sports Grounds, Sydney Olympic. Double to Paul Trimboli that day. And a goal to Goran Lazanovsky as well. Two famous names of the Hellas club. It's a ball in, and it's off the post. Arguex follow-up blocked by Fuchs, and now there might be a chance for Olympic going the other way. Cyrus Demi's got plenty of pace. Spink's got to stay with him. Trying to cut inside on the right foot, still goes Demi. Slipped at the vital moment. Brilliant football all round, but what a chance it was for Jack Payne Andrews to finish for South Melbourne. And this was what they're looking for, Perko, in terms of the build-up. Yiannopoulos in that space you talked about, a lovely delivery.
They had heaps of numbers in the box. Paint Andrews coming in off the back post, unlucky there just to strike the woodwork.
This is the period in which South Melbourne stung Olympic down at Lakeside. They're coming with one final flurry in the first half. A little bit sloppy, that interchange between Painter Andrews and Laval. Bouncing it for Donald. Clattered into by Spink, who's been throwing his body at everything. The 20-year-old centre half. Queensland native. Would be well aware of Cyrus Demi, Braden Spink, because he was up with Gold Coast United playing against him. Had that campaign for Olympic FC up in the NPL in Queensland in 2024. Familiar foe. It's a really loose pass from Jankovic, who's had a first half to forget. Amanda. Options forward for him as well. Went for the deepest in Futes and overhit the ball. He's found himself in a couple of promising areas like that, hasn't he, Gloria Amanda? Just lacking that final ball.
Yeah, Sydney Olympic looking very dangerous on the break, on the counter-attack. And South Melbourne's starting to get a little bit desperate, which is fair enough. They're heading in towards half-time. They look to rush that numbers forward, and they were expecting a long penetrating pass, but a long ball, but it was a short one into feet that didn't quite make it. That created that counter-attack opportunity for Sydney Olympic.
Ball pushing right into midfield, but used his arm to block the ball being played forward. To the final minute of stoppage time in the first half. A game that has turned into a thoroughly entertaining one. It was a bit of a slow burn the opening 20 minutes or so, but Ali Uglar's opening goal has sparked some really open football. A chance for Ryan Futes. Good save by Lopez, sharp off his line. And making himself very big as Hong dives into the challenge. Juan Pasquale. Romano Haliti in disbelief. And just a little overzealous. And tell you what, this free kick might not be the worst result for Sydney Olympic.
Hong has been absolutely everywhere in Sydney Olympics midfield, often disrupting South Melbourne's progression into midfield off their build-up. He's had a really good half.
That is the final action of it. It was a slow burn, and Ali Uglar lit up Jubilee Stadium with another goal of the tournament contender, turning Jankovic inside out and then firing past Lopez. South Melbourne hit the post late on through Jack Painter Andrews, but that was as close as they've come in the first half. The Olympic, after falling at Lakeside, have taken a lead with them to the break this time around. Don't go anywhere, halftime show coming up here on SBS, but as the teams head down the tunnel at Jubilee, it's Sydney Olympic 1, South Melbourne 0.
Welcome back to Super Saturday here on SBS. Second half of our doubleheader has Sydney Olympic leading South Melbourne by a 1-0 in the derby, and the fans out at Kogarah are loving it at the moment. South Melbourne fans travelling in force as well, as you can see. But Ali Orgler has been the difference, as he so often has been for Sydney Olympic in this campaign. Even in losing efforts, he always finds a way to score. And he is the difference at half-time with a brilliant goal, Scott.
Well, he certainly is. And like you said, he has been a huge threat in this competition there, obviously with the free kick early on in the piece as well with that wonderful left foot of his. But he continued to press on for Sydney Olympic. And as you can see in a quick transition moment, he gets there first before Jankovic. And what he does here is absolutely sublime. He turns in and out a Jankovic who dives in and beats Lopez at the near post. You have to say, if you're Lopez, though, however, take nothing away from Orgler's, divine dribble and finish. But if you're Lopez in goal at this angle as well, are you disappointed not to get stronger hands at that near post? He gets something to it, but the shot in the end is just too ferocious for him, Josh. And well-deserved, probably, you have to say, on the balance of play. Sydney Olympic taking the lead from there.
Oh, fantastic work from Olympic in this first half. They've sorted out some of their fragilities at the back, and they're looking to hit South Melbourne in transition, and they've had plenty of joy. Best opportunity of the first half for South Melbourne, though, coming from Jack Painter-Andrews, breaking from the centre circle, you can see there, and getting free at the back stick.
Yeah, Max Mikkola with a wonderful ball to that back stick as well, and you have to say that's been very few chances like that for South Melbourne in that first half. They haven't really been able to get hold of the game. And you have to give full credit to Sydney Olympic for that, because they have come with a bit of physical presence and they have pressed as well. And they've always been a threat in terms of when South Melbourne have had the ball in those transition moments with that front two.
Let's take a look back at the first kickoff this afternoon, which saw Canberra, Croatia play host to Avondale FC. And it was a rout in the end. 4-1 the final score. Bruno Fornaroli scoring the opener. Luca Tavia with the second before Sian Cuba was on the end of two superb team goals in the second half.
Yeah, well, some of the combination play within this game was absolutely fantastic. Abdullah, they're coming. If you look at it from this angle, what a wonderful ball that is, just through the legs. Sian Cuba, thank you very much, from all of 2-3 yards out. And very unselfish from Bruno Fornaroli here on the fourth one. Second time of asking, Cuba picks up the pieces. Unlucky for Arans, who gets a wonderful first save. But from there, it was a long, long way back for Canberra, Croatia, though, but come up with a wonderful finish here, didn't they?
Well, they finished on a high there. Keegan Vucetic with a superb strike, but it's Avondale who celebrate in style as they top Group C. And they're belting out the team song loud and proud. Their captain, Aidan Bryce, was good enough to catch up with Adrian Archuli after the game.
Aidan Bryce, a 4-1 win, now top of Group C. But how did that feel? Because you really felt like you boys turned it on there for long periods of that game.
Yeah, well, the first 45 was good. We played to our game plan, like keep the ball at the back, try and invite him out a bit, and then find a couple of little holes, and we found that well and scored a couple of goals, which was good. And then fitness in the back end of the half sort of slowed us down, and they creep one back. But all around, I think a good performance from the boys.
Obviously, 2 draws coming into this. What do you feel clicked? Obviously, you beat these guys in match day 1, but what do you feel clicked today?
Look, last week we did dominated possession, like I think we did again today, but we just weren't as clinical up front. And I think today we were clinical, which is what we've been working on all week. And I think we got the goals for it, and it shows for a good win.
Talk to us about a defender having an attack like he did today, because Abdullah going on the wing, he was fantastic. And then you got Bruno up front. Nothing more can be said about him. How does that feel, knowing the quality you've got in midfield and especially up front?
Look, for defenders, we can just focus on our job, and we just get the ball to them. They're brilliant players, Amir's left foot's quality. Bruno's presence is good. Sian Cuba out wide. Chanchy when he comes on. Our midfielders. Once the ball goes forward, you can just pretty much just clap your hands and say, well done, boys.
Aidan, best of luck for the remaining 2 group games.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Must be nice marshalling that back line and knowing as long as I win the ball, do my jobs, shut down the opposition centre forward, the rest of the team will take care of the attacking responsibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. For the most part, he did that exceptionally well as well. Playing into that first line or even the second line into Bruno Fornaroli. Got a little bit sloppy at the end. They'll be disappointed that they conceded the goal, but overall, they have to be very, very pleased with that performance.
So back to our current game, and Andy Pascalides has brought us a little bit of flavour with a former Socceroo and Sydney Olympic legend, Peter Catholis.
Well, it's very rare you get the opportunity to catch up with a legend, and we have one right here at Jubilee. Former Sydney Olympic captain, former soccer, a man who played with a multitude of National Soccer League clubs, Peter Catholis. How are you feeling, Pete?
Andy, how are you? Good to see you, mate. Good to see you back on SBS. Yeah, I'm doing the rounds. Apia, Marconi, today's Sydney Olympic.
What do you think of the game?
Look, it's a pretty tight game. You know, a lot of, Olympic needs the win today. They're playing very well. They've had some good chances. But still, it's not over. I expect a very confrontational second half.
What about the goal?
Yeah, goal was fantastic. He's a really good player. He's a really good find for Olympic. So yeah, I mean, they need the points to get to the next level, to the next quarters. So I hope they can get the win today.
You played back in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. Look at this pitch, mate. You must be envious.
I can't believe it. It's like carpet. I can't believe it where they're playing. I mean, compare Pratton Park with the cricket pitch in the middle compared to this. It's like, wow, our times have changed.
It is, mate. Cat, it's always a pleasure to see you, mate. Take
Thank you.
care.
All the best.
The
Thank
one and
you,
only
guys.
Peter Catholis. Back to you guys in the commentary position.
Two legends on your screen there. Well, let's take a short break. Kickoff for the second half is coming up on the other side on the Kogarah carpet, so don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Jubilee Stadium, the second half coming your way from one of these historic grounds. Taking in the action of the Australian Championship. It was lit up by Ali Auglar's strike that has given Olympic this lead, a one-on-one situation. He turned his defender inside out and then struck the ball ferociously past Javi Lopez into the back of the net. Followed up by Jack Pater-Andrews, hitting the post late on for South Melbourne, the closest they came to finding an equaliser over the course of the first half. Very entertaining first 45 minutes. You can see the Olympic juniors getting amongst the action. But Mario Vridapu down there on the bouzouki, traditional Greek instrument, providing some halftime entertainment for the fans out there as well. David Perkovic is joining me, Alex Molchanoff in commentary for the second half. Perko, what did you make of that opening 45 minutes in summary, and expecting any changes from either of the two coaches coming out of halftime?
Yeah, it was a fantastic first half, a real arm wrestle on two teams trying to get on top in the game, both wanting to control the game in very different ways in a sense. South Melbourne want to control the game with the ball, but it seemed as the game progressed, Sydney Olympic were very comfortable with trying to control the game without it and then hitting South Melbourne on the counter-attack, and that's where their goal came from. I'm expecting either a change in personnel or a tactical change from Kohadzic from South Melbourne. They definitely are less comfortable of the two sides, and obviously they're chasing the game now, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a change at halftime, at least a tactical change, but maybe even a personnel change. Let's see what happens now.
See Sydney Olympic first back out onto the field. Why wouldn't they be after the performance they put in? A vastly improved one from the first up visit to Lakeside, which didn't fall in their favour, but they started that game brightly as well before South Melbourne managed to wrestle back the momentum. Labonai Haliti in deep conversation with Ali Auglar as they make their way out past the tunnel. Just keep doing what you were doing that first half, I suggest would be the message.
Message at halftime will be try to get Ali Auglar 1v1 situations. Let him do his thing.
But for South Melbourne, does there need to be an attacking change here, Perko, or just a difference in how they're building their attacks? That's something you commented on pretty frequently throughout that first half, just how they're building attacks against this very well set Olympic defence.
Yeah, they want to progress the ball in through the thirds, but they're just varying it in terms of personnel, how they want to do that a little bit too much. I would like to see their midfielders get the ball behind the two strikers in defence. That's setting up defensively for Sydney Olympic, but I also expect to see some sort of subtle change with Laval. It's pretty ineffective in that first half out on the wing. I thought he was really good in the first game against Sydney Olympic at home as a 9, so interesting to see if there's any changes there.
He's headed back out to the right-hand side for the start of their second half, so we'll keep a close watch on him. For Sydney Olympic, they just want to continue momentum that they built through the first half performance. Keep South's winless run in Sydney as it is, 8 without, 1 visiting Sydney Olympic north of the border, dating all the way back to 1998. And for a New South Wales versus Victoria perspective, only 1 win for New South Wales sides since the formation of the National Premier League's competition. That's across NPL finals, as they used to be played before COVID, the FFA and Australia Cups, and now the Australian Championships. Just a 1 win for teams from New South Wales when facing a top-tier opponent from Victoria. Sydney Olympic trying to salvage a bit of state pride in their second half as well. See how they all like, full of confidence, but a little overzealous in his attempts to win the ball. Giannakopoulos picking the ball up right inside the centre circle. He was such a key for them in their build-up during the first half. Agwek's touch not able to be returned to Max Mikola. Provided the ball for Pater-Andrews' late opportunity at an equaliser. And he just hesitated over the ball there. Yiannakopoulos was sort of in a no-win situation. Cyrus Demi chased down that long ball and has managed to give Sydney Olympic an early throw from which to base themselves.
Of those statistics, I'll be interested to see how many games were in Victoria as opposed to New South Wales, because I think the travel definitely for teams that don't usually do it is difficult, especially for Australia Cup where you often have to travel on the day of the game.
There's Feuds just slipping. He scored a couple of goals almost from that patch of grass during the NPL New South Wales season. Fantastic atmosphere at Jubilee Stadium. See all the fans are gathered below our commentary position today and making for a very raucous atmosphere. It's provided a tremendous soundtrack to this fixture. Amanda wanted the free kick from his little tangle with Braden Spink, who's been very game for those physical battles. Up with Demi and Amanda featuring together in the starting lineup for the first time under Labano Haliti.
As you can see here, Sydney Olympic very, very compact in their defensive structure. Ali Orgula coming all the way inside to make that four-man midfield very, very compact, which makes it really hard to penetrate and gives the back four a lot of protection in front of them.
So who's the key to unpicking that? Is it as obvious as saying Uchida or something further back, Perko, that we should be watching for in this second half?
I think for me, what would be really, really advantageous is a lot more quicker ball movement, more passing to try and just disrupt that structure of Sydney Olympics defence and just shifting that ball a little bit more quickly and not get stagnant, because that's where the compactness of the defence wins out.
Caught in little cul-de-sacs like the one that Ole Laval just found himself in. Cheetah forced to retreat and bringing down Cyrus Demi. All going swimmingly for Labano Haliti in game number 104. Demi's reintroduction has been key. A bit of a battering ram for Sydney Olympic in their attacking thirds. Fans are full of voice. That's actually the travelling South Melbourne fan base who've made their way up to Sydney in good number, as we might have expected. Trying to drive their team on towards an equaliser during this second half.
That ball speed coming out from South Melbourne needs to be a lot quicker to disrupt this Sydney Olympic defensive structure. It's a little bit too lackadaisy, a little bit too slow for my liking.
See in the top of your picture there, the Movember signage around the edge of Jubilee Oval. Australian Championship and Movember partnering ahead of the start of Movember. Goal of $500,000 to try and change the face of men's health. You can sign up now at Movember.com, or you can head to the AustralianChampionship.com.au website and make your donation to each individual club's fundraising efforts over the course of the next month. Fantastic initiative, and good to have Movember on board as partner of the Australian Championship. So Josh Parrish in the studio at half-time getting in on the act as Max Mikkola goes down under the challenge of Zoricic, who's just handed out one or two tough challenges in the opening 5 minutes of the second half.
It's definitely been key to Sydney Olympics defence. They've been very, very aggressive in their tackles today, trying to put off South Melbourne as much as possible, and so far it's working.
A bit of a naughty one in there on Max Mikkola, who felt the full effects. He watched up towards Aguak. Fall for Pasquale. Painter Andrews continuing to get into advanced positions, facing up to O'Toole. Happy enough with the throw. Here we go, South Melbourne getting set for this long throw. Packing numbers into the box. It undid Sydney Olympic on the opening weekends. looked a little better prepared this time around, but certainly really the second time we've seen a Mikkola throw. Oh, and it's slipped away from the grasp of Gibson. Jankovic was in there at the front post looking for the flick on. Just couldn't quite find an on-rushing white shirt. Olympic are looking to go quickly in transition again. Demi takes the throw quickly. He's looking to pick up the scraps as well. Tidy first touch. Eventually Agwek there to lend a hand defensively. Uchida. It's been around the periphery of this game. Actually probably been doing a bit more defensive work than Sinisa Kahadzic would really like. Just to see him with a ball at his feet in attacking areas. Melbourne continuing these slow build-ups, trying to think their way out of the situation. Lampard. Val coming infield to chase that one. Gordon easily crossed to clear the danger.
It's too easy for Sydney Olympic to deal with those kind of attacks from South Melbourne. Need some leadership out there, South Melbourne. They need someone to steer the football idea, to get that fluidity in their game.
Zoricic going long from the throw. Head tennis between Donald and Spink. Ball taken quickly by Mikkola for Uchida, and Teng Kuo got a fistful of the Japanese midfielder's jersey, and he joins his defensive partner, Ziggy Gordon, in Jack Morgan's notebook. A straightforward one there. It was a case of letting the ball or the player pass, but not both.
That could pose a problem for Sydney Olympic, as they don't have a lot of depth in defence in their squad. Now their two central defending pairings are on yellow cards. So any South Melbourne attacks that isolate either Ziggy or Deng, they're going to have to be very, very careful.
Sam Bosniak is ready in reserve. Should Labano Haliti look to go there, but they've looked so strong, those two. I really won't want to disrupt that partnership without real cause. No South Melbourne's threat from set pieces. And another opportunity to show their wares here. Mikkola and Pasquale over the ball. It's Mikkola who takes. It's a decent delivery as well. O'Toole doing the defending for Olympic. Feuds picking up the ball just shy of halfway. Eventually getting support and releasing Amanda. Will the ball reach him? Just pulled up off the pitch. He did nicely to find Orgla. Couldn't direct his shot on target, or was it a late intervention from Lampard that set the ball wide? Corner for Sydney Olympic, but a good chance goes begging on the counter again, Perko.
Yeah, as we see here, Glory does well to still the play, makes the South Melbourne defender commit himself, and then it just comes off the back of Lampard, it looks like there, so setting up a corner. But a big chance for Sydney Olympic there to double their lead. They didn't get it on that occasion. Hopefully, for their fans' sake, they can capitalise on this corner.
There's no hotter attacking player in the competition than Ali Orgla. No doubt he'll be flitting about looking for any scraps that fall his way from Chris Donald's corner. In towards Demi. The keeper lost his footing. Feuds didn't catch it sweetly. And the ball just skews wide of the goalkeeper's post. Javi Lopez hitting the deck there for a moment, which would have given the travelling South Melbourne supporters just a bit of a heart palpitation for a moment. Fortunately, from their perspective, Demi couldn't make real contact. Futz's effort, not his finest. More promising signs for the hosts, though. Looking very comfortable in this game at the moment. Done both ends. Could all turn with just a moment of South Melbourne's own. Melakopoulos strong in the aerial duel. Uchida isolating Zoricic, who covered well, and it's a goal kick. Beautifully timed challenge. He's been right amongst it at the start of this second half. Zach Zoricic. He's covering himself in plenty of glory defensively at the moment.
That build-up was a lot better by South Melbourne. They were able to receive the ball in midfield facing forwards, and that got them the progression out to Uchida out wide. Unlucky for the double ricochet not to get a corner there. Need to have a little bit more progressions like that to have any success of breaking this sturdy Sydney Olympic defence.
Hong into the challenge. Looking his way back, Cyrus Demi. Just a slightly heavy touch, which might give South Melbourne a chance to go in transition. Another poor turnover. Ollie Laval is fading further and further out of the centre of this game. Feuds to the star man Orglar. Gets it back off Zoricic. Nice little interchange of passes, and he's got the better of a retreating defender as well. Just left it a little too far in front of Zoricic. Still, he might be there, Zach Zoricic. He goes into his own heavy touch. It's all a bit scrappy. Gibson happy to keep the pressure on, just hoist the ball forwards. Another turnover from South Melbourne in their own half, and Donald runs it out of play. Time for us to check in quickly with Andy Pascalidis. What has the first 13 minutes of this second half taught you down on the sidelines, Andy?
It's so exciting being down here on the sideline, gentlemen, watching Ali Ugla in action. He is, well, let's call him Ali Ugla the assassin. His lack of control here, he can recover so well, but he's just skills, taking them on. He's got no fear. Could have got a second but for that deflection, but certainly a standout, the top scorer in the Australian Championship. And I love being at ground level, watching him and the others in action.
Thank you, Andy. You keep an eye out as well about any potential changes coming over the final half hour. We're yet to see one this afternoon. Ball was played off across to Feuds. Peter Andrews couldn't keep the ball in play.
I can't imagine Kahazic would not look to his bench sooner rather than later.
Something needs to change for the visitors at the moment.
Just definitely don't have the rhythm that they've shown in the opening games.
Donald. Wait for Zoricic. Cheetah. Full of fire and running again, and this time winning his side a free kick. Finally gets a decision in his favour. Donald just pondering over the ball for a moment too long. Tongue out in some frustration. A very good pickup. One of a number for Sydney Olympic, the midfielder. Just a little late into this challenge on Uchida after winning the first one cleanly. It's interesting, the process for some of these sides bringing in players. How difficult is that, Burgo, to, over a very short lead into this tournament, integrate those new signings into your squad, particularly in pressure situations like this right now that South Melbourne have? Everything's been pretty comfortable for them to this stage in the tournament, with the exception of round one when they had to come from behind. But as a coach, it generally takes you a little bit longer than 3 or 4 weeks to get these guys embedded in the system and embed all those values that the team has.
Yeah, and the playing principles as well. Look, it's not easy, but I don't think South Melbourne had much choice really. They had a disappointing season for their standards, so they needed to get some quality into the side. So whilst it's more difficult to get that team on-field chemistry, They've definitely got a lot of individual quality that has helped them to have this outstanding start to their group stage. But yeah, the more games they play, the better that they will become.
Jack Morgan not making himself the most popular at Jubilee Stadium by giving Ali Orgla a stern talking to as he came out of that little 50-50. Amanda with Jankovic in his back, no whistle coming this time. Giannakopoulos. Mikola drifting infield. And Amanda only had one result on his mind there. Be interesting to see if this continues throughout the second half with Sydney Olympic holding the slim lead. Seem to be willing to foul to disrupt South Melbourne's build-up as well now. Bit for Jack Morgan to manage. A game that's had a bit of fire just underneath the surface. It's been a tense, tight battle the entirety of the hour played so far.
Really been pleased with Sydney Olympics' defensive discipline in this game so far. Worked really, really hard off the ball. Been physical when they needed to be. But most importantly, very, very compact.
A nice cutting ball from Lampard that took out two lines of the Olympic defence. It's put Mikola in a crossing position. O'Toole again at the back post, reading the ball best. And Fuchs might be able to release Demi here. Scott Spink coming across in cover. Fuchs underlapping. It might find Ryan Fuchs. And a good recovering challenge from Giannakopoulos, even after leaving his feet. Did very, very well to ensure the attack didn't develop any further, but the Olympic fans are buoyed. The side continuing to wrestle the momentum away from their opposition at every opportunity.
Only worry Sydney Olympic has now is that if they don't put this game to bed, South Melbourne stays in the game. And while South Melbourne hasn't had the greatest game, they have moments players, and it could come from a moment in transition like this.
Jordan Lampard is one of those. He's firing long and direct to Ollie Laval. It was a nice first touch and a couple of appeals for a penalty kick as well. You can hear the South Melbourne bench certainly thought there was enough contact for the foul to be blown. This will be a very interesting look. Enough of the ball for Teng Kuo. Corner only for South. Tangle of legs there, wasn't there, Perko? Enough contact for a penalty. He does make a clean challenge on the ball in the first instance, doesn't he? Jeez.
I'm not sure if Teng Kuo got the ball there, to be honest.
Okay.
But again, if we're debating about it, can't really blame the referee either way.
Tight one. Mikola delivers the corner. Oh, and that almost fell to Agwek. Still there at the back post for Laval, who fires high and wide. Well, almost to emphasise your point, Perko. One counter-attack, one set piece, and a couple of half chances. The first lot of substitutions coming for Sinisa Kahadzic, and it's a treble of them. Charlie Leach, Jack Pope, and Bilal Habib, all up and ready. End of the road for Thomas Giannakopoulos, who's got through a fair bit of work and is on a booking as well. All of that will come into it. Pope will take his position in the centre of midfield. Looks as though Manny Agwek's afternoon is over. No more second half heroics for him. 23-year-old Charlie Leach, scorer of one goal during the regular season. That was the last half chance that fell Agwek's way. Final change, Ollie Laval, who's worked hard, stuck out on that right-hand side for the majority of the game, perhaps didn't get the service he was looking for at all times today.
Yeah, he definitely would have wanted to get that ball a little bit more, isolating that left back of Sydney Olympic in O'Toole, or even trying to receive the ball in behind O'Toole, but often had to come towards the ball, which, as good as Laval is, that's not his main quality.
Spoken about so highly by John Aloisi during his time at Western United, a player he was very keen to bring through at that club before the unfortunate circumstances surrounding them. First chance for Leach to get into the action, just eased off it nicely by Hong. Strong piece of defensive work. Another South Melbourne attack comes to naught. So, first show of the deck from Sinisa Kahadzic. Jack Gibson off the back of his good performance last weekend, looking to keep a first clean sheet of this Australian Championship. Flitted around a few clubs during his junior years to try and really win his spot in a first team side. So Marconi for a time, he's wrestled it off some stern competition a couple of years ago at Olympic and held on to that position ever since, with good reason. Proved as a shot stopper year on year. Chance for Habib, the first time since coming on. Into Ziggy Gordon. We've seen that situation so many times down the years. Have to clear his lines again. Saw some of the fans dressed as Spartans earlier today. He's been their fierce warrior in the back line for the past couple of seasons now under Labano Haliti. Might be his best performance of the championship so far. Just under a quarter of the game to see out. Ali Orgla is the difference. Max Mikula looking to provide something fruitful again from the long throw. Variation as he goes short for Pasquale. Looks to go with his left foot. How's the delivery? It's not bad. Qual climbing highest. Demi just bullocking his way out of the back line. Eventually Lampard can settle on the ball. Leach. Oh, and this might fall for Bilal Habib. Lovely bit of footwork as well. Leach thumped it into Hong. And another titanic challenge from Ziggy Gordon. Brings another cheer from the Olympic fans. And the holding this time from Braden Spink has drawn a pressure relieving free kick. Let's go down to the sideline. Andy Pascalides in just a moment as we get a look at Ziggy Gordon, who has thrown everything at it today. Heart, mind and body on the line.
He's had a fantastic game, Ziggy Gordon, especially with large parts of that game being on a yellow card. He's timed his tackles very, very well indeed.
And Andy Pascalides has now got, I believe, a Sydney Olympic coach for us. Andy.
Yes, I do. Thank you. 20 minutes to go, Labby. How are you shaping up now?
Yeah, look, it's a good game. It's tight now. Obviously, they're going to open up. They're going to go. They need a goal, so we just got to be compact, discipline, and manage the game. And we'll get our chance again, and we should just finish the game off.
And Ali is an unbelievable talent, mate. You've got a gem there.
Yeah, look, I've worked with him before, so we understand each other, and I think he's doing a good job so far.
All the best, Labby. Thanks for taking time out. Back to you, Alex.
Thank you, Andy, and thank you to Labano Aleti for providing some thoughts in the cut and thrust of this second half. The team looking to go 2 from their last 2. Mentioning his relationship with Ali Orgla, which stems back to Ali's time with the Western Sydney Wanderers Academy, which Labby was part of for a time. One of plenty across the competition with experience through those.
Looks like Corey making his way off the field. Be interesting to see who comes on.
Gloria Amanda is going to be the first removed. And Adam Parkhouse, the still notional club skipper. He's dropped out of the starting 11 last weekend for the win against Moreton City. Experienced campaigner. He's been one of the heartbeats of this side for the last 5 years or so.
Going to his more natural position on the left, and Thwoots joining Denby up top.
He's an old-fashioned winger, isn't he, Adam Parkhouse? Get down the touchline, get to the byline,
And
get the ball in.
That's it, and he's got a good cross on him too.
It's a shot when he gets the opportunity around the edge of the area as well. Early veteran of the Wellington Phoenix some time back. Team's got some defending to do first. This has fallen nicely. If he could just get it down, Max Mikkola. Guess who's in the way? Gordon again. Mikkola tries to recycle, only finds Orglar. And he's got green grass in front of him. An option centrally. Not able to find Demi on this occasion. Jankovic. Just settling the play. There goes the long option. As a bit sprung the offside trap, not quite.
Ziggy Gordon just signalled to the bench. It looks like he's got a problem with his knee. Now, whilst he's on a yellow card, he's been absolutely outstanding. But he's obviously got a knock from that challenge a few minutes ago. Probably going to check to see if he can run it off, but he doesn't look comfortable at all.
It looks like Labano Haliti doesn't want to take him. Interested to see how that all unfolds. And a bit more responsibility defensively falling onto some others. It looks as though Sam Bosniak is now making his way over to get stripped off and ready. Another throw right on the halfway line for Olympic. Clinging on to this goal to nil advantage. Nice touch from Fewts. Cut out by Braden Spick, who's impressed today. Timing of his challenges. The distribution's not too bad either. He's put the cheater ahead in the foot race. Good recovering pace from Connor O'Toole. Good to see him back running freely as well. He's got a slate of injuries which affected his time at the back end of his Sydney FC career. Some time out this season as well during Sydney Olympics NPL campaign.
Another long throw coming in.
Let's see if they go the variation. Looks like a bit of a dummy this time. Quite the arm of Max Mikkola from Peter Andrews. It's still causing chaos in the Olympic defence. I think Uchita's strike actually struck Pope. Peter Andrews stings the palms of Gibson from a very long way out, but it was beautifully struck. Watchful piece of goalkeeping.
You've got to be careful here, whilst it can be a blessing and also a curse defending deep.
Bigger threat to the Mikkola throw. Again, they go the short option. And the delivery, well, it almost picked out Habib. Still might fall for him. Clouted clear by Zach Zoricic.
As I was saying before, Sydney Olympic very comfortable defending deep because then it aids their attack of counter-attack football. But at the same time, if you give enough opportunities to the opposition to try and score, it's more than likely that will find a way. They have to test their resolve now.
We've just seen a preview of the final 15 minutes. Grandstand finish coming here at Jubilee Stadium.
As we heard from Labano Halidi himself, expects them to be nice and compact as South Melbourne will throw everything at them now. And hopefully he's hoping that they get another chance in transition to put the game to bed.
Cutting a more anxious figure than we've seen all afternoon. Now Labano Haliti, the 3 points well and truly within touching distance. And you can see on our fan poll so far, South Melbourne were favourites there. And Ali Oglar getting into a bit of to and fro with Jankovic, and he's the player booked. Let the crowd tell the story there. Does get pulled into this occasionally, doesn't he, Ali Oglar?
He does. He's got sometimes he's can't control his temper on occasions. Let's hope he can see out this one.
Marko Jankovic might have been well aware what he was doing there. Cheetah. Well, he's a brilliant technician. Wasn't quite on display with that half volley. Fans have enjoyed a brilliant afternoon's football. A game that has engaged and gripped from moment 1 to minute number 78. Tick towards full time. They've now got to ride this run home with their team. Jankovic is winning more and more of those aerial battles. It was left for Braden Spink, and it's fallen for Cyrus Demi. Looks keen to run out the 90 minutes. He's left that a bit short for Donald, though. And it'll be another Sydney Olympic player finding their way into the book. He's got his hands to his head, but there was only one decision for the referee there, given the space that Uchida had in front of him.
Very little he could complain about in that occasion. Uchida was away, got to the ball first, got his legs taken out from him. Sydney Olympic got to be very, very careful now as they rack up the yellow cards. The desperation tackles that may come in that last 12 minutes plus injury time. Got to be very careful. Hopefully this doesn't lead to a player that's on a yellow card.
4 players booked for them this afternoon. All of them still on the pitch at this point for Labano Haliti.
It's another set piece that they have to deal with.
And South Melbourne pry open the lock. It's presided over Jack Gibson's goal so far, not with balls like that. And he's keen to get them going with the pace of Fuchs. Oglar now the furthest forward. Steps past the first challenge. Spink across in cover. Rather more straightforward tackle. But that has got Olympic where they want to be.
If you're Labano Haliti, you want the team to keep the ball a little bit in the opposition half. Just take a little bit of that, give that defensive line a little bit of time to recover. They've been dealing with a lot lately.
Michael Vakis has just taken his bib off. The second for them last weekend off the bench. Terrific celebration in the eyes of the supporters, less so the referee.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Ali Oglar that comes off with his yellow card as well. So just to minimise the number of yellow cards that's on the pitch.
Lightning quick, the Sydney Olympic substitute. Oglar trying to have one last say. Returns the ball to Parkhouse. Oh, it looked for a moment like it might catch Javi Lopez out. Spaniard was quick enough to recover on his goal line. And then we're set in this little pattern of play that has developed consistently throughout the course of the second half. Olympic retreating into their shape. South Melbourne content with possession. They need a result on the scoreboard in the next 10 minutes. Lampard increasingly trying to spray passes forward. This one's worked out nicely for Uchida. Escapes a couple of Olympic defenders. Leach cutting in on his right. Fires it right into Ziggy Gordon. Perhaps not in as free in his movement as he was early in the game, but still well positioned. And now there will be time for that change. It actually looks as though it's Cyrus Demi who's going to be removed for Vakis. The physicality replaced with pure lightning pace.
Definitely aid their opportunities in transition. Putting a great effort for 80 minutes or so. Now Vakis can really, as South Melbourne potentially cheat a little bit more to try and get back into this game, and just allow Vargas to get on the shoulders of the defenders.
Nicola going route one this time. Gordon climbing above the pack. Shoots back to lend a hand defensively, and he did it superbly well. Thought he might have had a free kick. Lampard's deflected effort ballooned over Gibson's crossbar. Another South Melbourne set piece coming from a corner kick this time around.
Pressure starting to build here on Sydney Olympics defence. So far they're comfortable, but the more and more you have to do, the more and more fatigue gets into the legs.
Well, looks to be the release right on the edge of the penalty area. O'Toole almost standing as a marker inside the 18-yard box as this one swung deep towards Jankovic. And Lampard! Superb strike! Gorgeous technique! And eventually South Melbourne's pressure has paid. The equaliser arrives with 8 minutes to go. He is the bane of Sydney Olympic, Jordan Lampard. Goals home and away. And this one might just have salvaged them a point.
As I said before, the more set pieces and the more defensive actions you have to deal with, the more practice you give the opposition, sooner or later, there's a way to find a way through. And what a fantastic strike of the ball by Lampard there. Just sitting up for him outside of the box. Brilliant technique, and buries it into the back of the net. And it sets up for a fantastic finish to the game.
And they are buoyed by that South Melbourne. They win it straight back from the kick-off. Leach running towards goal. Quol there to cut him off. And Donald can clear the danger. Fuchs looking to run this ball down. He's got the better of Spink. Ryan Fuchs. Brilliant save from Lopez. Still the attack alive. Fuchs still carrying it. Has he got support? Look to do it all himself. It takes a deflection, and now Olympic will have an attacking corner. Harvey Lopez standing up in the big moment for the visitors.
If Sydney Olympic wanted anyone to be on the end of this, Fuchs is the one. His goal-scoring record for the club is outstanding, but on this occasion, Lopez stands up to it, closes the angle really well. What a fantastic opportunity for Sydney Olympic to go back in front straight after conceding.
The corner's been cut off by South Melbourne. They don't really have a release. Sounds like the fire alarm is getting a run down there. And Ziggy Gordon has won his side another attacking free kick. Sydney Olympic have done well to respond this quickly, and there's a little bit of a coming together as the ball travels into the Olympic technical area.
Tensions are brewing. 6 minutes plus injury time left. Are we going to find a winner?
Nicholas just belted the ball away as he's about to be substituted. He's going to prolong his stay as well. It is all happening at Jubilee Stadium right now. Mikola looked set to stay on the field until that yellow card came out. Public enemy number one. Campbell Dovison makes his way on. Can he play late hero? Still not all quite correct to make things happen here. Looks as though Braden Spink is making his way off as well. He is. Kota Couture, his replacement. Like for like change. Fine afternoon before that final moment that almost allowed Fuchs in. So, actual piece of coaching. They've gone the short option with Vargas. Rather than launching the ball into the box, it just had a yard too much weight on it for the Olympic substitute.
Really clever idea there by Sydney Olympic to try and surprise South Melbourne on that free kick. Unfortunately, the weight of that free kick was just a little bit too heavy.
Barely put a foot wrong this afternoon, Ali Ogwa. And Josh Hong, who's put in his finest performance of the championship so far, takes the applause. Seth Clark, the more attacking substitution. He's an architect of so much good for Sydney Olympic during the NPL campaign. You hear the cheers of the crowd as the fire alarm is sorted out. Gordon in the way again. Could South Melbourne steal all 3 points and secure their qualification? Leach brought down by Orgler. A striker's challenge, which has opened the door again for the visitors. They've had to wait for something to cheer about, the travelling support, but they've got plenty to sing on now.
Since Leach has come on, he's provided that little bit of creativity in that final third, a little bit of energy into South Melbourne's attack. It's been really good coming off the bench today. And another set piece that Sydney Olympic has to deal with.
Looks as though it'll be Pasquale this time. The right foot to swing it in towards Gibson. It's a deep cross and almost there for Uchida. Ball still not cleared. Lampard again. Clark makes the block. Left-footed player, but I'll tell you what, that right one is doing some damage both to the back of the net and to Seth Clark from short distance there from Lampard. Ball in from Dovison, Habib. Knocked on by Pope. Now it's South Melbourne looking the more likely. Nice touch from Leach. Just sets it up. Half away from Orgler. Lampard again. Keeps falling to him on the edge of the box. It's like he's got a magnet in his boot. Leach. Still prompting and probing. This time Quoll makes the telling intervention. And Olympic, who responded so well to the equaliser, have now found this unfortunate pattern with them sitting so deep inside their own penalty area, inviting South Melbourne's pressure. Donald with the initial touch. Pasquale. Now Uchida. So often the difference maker for South Melbourne already in his short time at the club. Dovison couldn't knock it to anyone in white. Clark clears. Fute's trying to play hold up, not able to do so. Dovison again. Shooting chance for Pope. And Gibson had to reel it in with Leach in close attendance.
These chances coming for South Melbourne now is coming off the back of really, really quick, fast footwork, quick ball speed from South Melbourne. Good combination play in the final third, and it's just really creating problems for that structure of Sydney Olympics defence.
A lot of them through the substitutes as well. Sinisa Kahazic has pulled the right rein as his team have chased this big Hellenic derby. The tool just gives it Cheddar a shove. Easy decision for the referee.
So the goal obviously puts a bit of energy and a bit of spark into the South Melbourne team as well. That would no doubt would have helped. Renewed energy from South Melbourne, believing now they can get all 3 points. But at the same time, they've got to be very careful of Sydney Olympic on the counter-attack.
Until game as he made the defensive clearance, 5 minutes to play. The final clash between these two in the National Soccer League back in 2004 was the final round of that season. It finished in a rather unremarkable 0-0 draw at this stadium. There has been nothing unremarkable about this encounter today. South Melbourne could still write a final para in the script. Ball towards Jankovic. And Lampard again. This one just wide of Gibson's goal. And he's got the taste now, doesn't he?
He's hitting them sweetly.
Didn't score during the NPL Victoria regular season. He's enjoying life in the championship. A new era, a new Jordan Lampard. See the picture-in-picture here of a pretty impressive piece of technique. That ball sat just a few centimetres lower, and Jack Gibson might have been called into action. Not to be. O'Toole wants more options. Fuchs provides one. Donald. Stepping past the initial challenge. How far can he go? He's surrounded by white shirts. Habib. Foul timing his challenge. Couldn't get the ball in play though. Where's it up here, Perko? How much the two coaches be feeling right now? Watching on as their teams try to claim all 3 points. Zoricic. Lovely touch from Jankovic, who's had such an impressive second half.
No doubt both coaches will be driving their team to the final whistle, trying to get an outcome, whether that be defending or attacking.
What a treat we've had in this Saturday 3 p.m. fixture. Still right in the balance all the way to the end. Painter Andrews going route one for Habib. Again, it was Ziggy Gordon best positioned. Labano Haliti must have thought this game was for the taking with 20 to go. Habib could change that! He's beaten Gibson! And look what it means to Kahadzic and to those South Melbourne supporters who were made to wait so long for something to sing about. Now they can think about a place in the quarterfinals. Remarkable turnaround. And it's the substitute who's made the difference. Bilal Habib, a new name to sing for Hellas fans.
Picks up the ball in the half space here and unleashes a wicked shot on goal. Too hot to handle for Gibson. And just reward for South Melbourne's change of fortune in the second half. They really came out after an initial dull period. The changes in substitutions has revitalised them. And now they're 2-1 lead into the final minute of the game.
What a moment for Bilal Habib, his first Australian Championship strike, one to remember. It might claim South's first win against Olympic in Sydney for some time. Farkas with a complete air swing and only the keeper to beat. Labano Haliti cannot believe it.
What an opportunity there for Sydney Olympic to respond.
We've had as many chances in the last 15 or 20 minutes as we had the entirety of the afternoon before that, as Uchida strides forward and perhaps to safety for South Melbourne.
While the two games have been very different, one thing that's been consistent is the absolute bangers of goals that's happened in on these fixtures. Fantastic goals that we saw in the first fixture. Fantastic goals we're seeing today. Unbelievable.
Three very pure strikes of the football. And Uchida happy to take that ball to the corner to win something they can take short. He can't smile just yet, Sinisa Kahadzic. But it's now the South Melbourne fans who are making all the noise. Pope rolls it short. And they're letting the Olympic fans know about it as well. Parkhouse back doing the defending. He hasn't seen as much of the ball in attacking areas since coming on as he'd like. And South Melbourne's wait for a win against Sydney Olympic in New South Wales is over. A day they will sing about for some time, trailing with 10 minutes to go. Winners at full time. Jordan Lampard first with a sweet half volley, and Bilal Habib a first championship strike that he will remember for a very long time indeed. South Melbourne safely through to the quarterfinals after this come-from-behind performance at Jubilee Stadium. It finishes Olympic 1, South Melbourne 2.
What a turnaround at Kogarah as South Melbourne scored 2 late goals to win the Greek derby and continue Victoria's streak over New South Wales. All the reaction coming up on the other side of the break for our post-game show. Stick around, Josh Parrish and Scott McDonald to take you through it all. It's the Australian Championship on SBS. South Melbourne victorious. Sydney Olympic had the lead at the break, but South Melbourne turned it around late on, and look at what it means to Sinisha Korhadzic and his team. The travelling South Melbourne fans absolutely loving it at Kogarah, as Bilal Habib's long-distance stunner is the difference. Josh Parrish here with Scott McDonald to take you through all of the post-game analysis and reaction. Scotty, it seemed as if Sydney Olympic sat off a little bit on their lead in the second half.
Yeah, it did seem that way, Josh. You know, they had a very, very good first half. They were very physical on the front foot, created some decent chances. This was a transition moment where, you know, Orgler, who was fantastic throughout the game, you have to say their most dangerous player. He chops inside out, you know, Jankovic, and a wonderful little reverse shot at the front post. Again, Lopez will be disappointed, I reckon, not to get a stronger hand to it, but take nothing away from the first-class dribble, and then to cut back on his favoured left foot with a lovely finish at the end of it. And that was 1-0 Sydney Olympic, and it was looking very, very bright for them going into half-time. But like you said, Josh, just in the second half, they just seemed to hold on a little bit too much, and they paid the price for it in the end.
Certainly did. I mean, will they argue, though, that they did have the chances to win the game, though, with Fuchs having 2 1v1 opportunities?
Yep. Look, absolutely. Orgler as well with that one that was blocked on the back as well. And then Vrakas right at the end with the air swing just to try and get an equaliser as well. So they had plenty of chances. You know, Sydney Olympic will be hugely frustrated, and you could see that. They led for so long in the game. Ziggy Gordon, though, making some huge blocks in the second half, but to no avail with obviously Lampard coming up and then Habib with the winner.
Well, Habib announced himself in spectacular style off the bench after returning from international duty. He caught up with Andy Pascalidis.
Well, it's always good to meet a goal scorer who has that decisive strike in stoppage time. And the former Flemington Eagles under-5, under-6 player from Melbourne, a boy of Somalian background. Bilal, how are you feeling, mate?
No, I feel good. I'm just waiting for my chance to come on. Watching the game from the bench, I've seen the spaces that, you know, the centre-backs like to sit off, and as soon as I got the ball in from Jordan, as soon as I turned, I just knew just to hit it. So, yeah, it was a good ending to the game.
With 10 minutes to go, you're thinking, OK, we're down 1-0, but there's still hope.
Yeah, 100%. That's you know, the self-belief that we have here at the club. Sinish's put that into, you know, he's tried to drill it into us at training. The game's not over until it's over, so, yeah, it feels good.
You came here from Altona Magic.
Yeah.
How's the championship been for you? Because you've got goals and aspirations.
Yeah, 100%. I came in from Altona. I missed the first 2 games of the Cup due to national team, so I was representing Somalia for the World Cup qualifiers. Obviously wasn't in the squad, came back, and then, yeah, finally started to get my minutes and, yeah, pushing to start, so it's good.
And who's your hero? Who's the player you look up to?
Neymar, 100%.
Oh, good choice. 100%. Pleasure to meet you, young man. Fantastic. What a goal to win the game. Well done, brother.
Bilal Habib channeling a little bit of Neymar with his winning goal. It was an audacious try, and he's made the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, absolutely. I mean, like he touched on about, you know, finding that space coming off the centre-backs, you know, and knowing that he had space and time to turn. But we start with the first goal. And, you know, at this point as well, South Melbourne, you know, what a wonderful strike from Lampard. With his weaker foot, you have to say. It was more like Frank Lampard more than Jordan Peter Lampard. I don't think he'll mind me saying that because he's not scored too many, but that was a wonderful strike through bodies, kept it low, kept his eye on it, and it kept them right back in the game. And from there, though, there was chances either end, and it looked like we didn't know which way it was going to go because Olympic finally come back out again. They knew they had to get 3 points, but in the end, they've left themselves short a little bit, and as we see, picks it up in a little bit of space, has a crack from there, but you have to say Jack Gibson will be hugely disappointed not to get a strong hand to that. You know, like I mentioned about Lopez, but this one even more so. He gets there down low, but just too much on it. You know, Habib strikes it really, really, really well, and he doesn't care. Thanks very much, and neither does he. Takes all 3 points, and that's them now qualified for the next phase of this championship.
Yeah, 4 wins from 4. It just gets better and better for South Melbourne. What a turnaround from the middle of the NPL Victoria season where they're in danger of relegation.
Yeah, hugely. You have to give them credit. And look, we know South Melbourne is a huge football club and a very proud one at that as well. And when these big occasions come up, they won the Doherty Cup as well, you know, late on, even though it was a difficult season. So when you've got knockout phases as well, they're going to be a huge threat in this competition.
Well, let's hear from the man who's helped turn this club around over the last few months. Sinisha Korhadzic is with Andy Pascalidis.
I'm with a very, very happy coach, Sinisa Kokojic. Is that correct pronunciation?
Yes.
Have I passed the test at SBS?
It's a pass.
Thank you, Les. Thank you. I did it. I would never call it soccer. It's football. It's not over till it's over.
Yeah, listen, we were not the best today, if we want to be honest, but this group's got some character. It's got some character that they pushed till the last second of the game, and that's what's brought us over. The players that came from the bench done the job for us today, and that's what we are. We are a team, and I'm delighted. Yeah, it's a good 3 points.
How are you feeling around the 80th minute mark?
Yeah, listen, before we scored that goal to be 1-1, we obviously tried, but we didn't go nowhere. Sydney Olympic played a very block game today. So ultimately, when we scored, then we felt that we got the momentum to score the second one at that point.
You must be proud now. That's 4 wins on the bounce, continuing that unbeaten run. You're into the quarterfinals, obviously, given the gap that there is between the teams behind you.
Yes, I mean, now it's time. We want to continue this. We want to get better. That's the most important part. But again, getting into quarterfinals already now, it makes it a little bit easier. So now we can obviously think and integrate some players that haven't played that much.
Wonderful to meet you today.
Thank you,
Keep up
indeed.
the good work.
Thank you,
All the
indeed.
very
Pleasure.
best.
My pleasure.
Yasu.
Thank you. Thank you.
Andy Pascalides is heartbroken about the result. He's doing a good job of hiding it. But let's see what that has done to the standings, because it means, as they said, South Melbourne have qualified for the knockout stages already. 4 wins from 4. And Broadmeadow Magic and Moreton City Excelsior will fight it out for second spot tomorrow.
Yeah, it's gonna. I'm really looking forward to that one as well. And look, it's still all to play for even Sydney Olympic, just depending on that result. So, yeah, it's going to be really intriguing to see what that result brings tomorrow.
Let's have a look at what's coming up on a massive Sunday of action. Moreton City playing host to Broadmeadow Magic. Wollongong at home to South Hobart. West Apia playing host to Metro Stars. Northwest Sydney Spirit against Preston Lions. And Bayswater City against Sydney United out west. Make sure you join us on SBS On Demand or YouTube for those ones. But it's been a pleasure to bring you the Australian Championship coverage this afternoon. We've seen goals galore. Drama aplenty. Avondale victorious over Canberra, Croatia, and South Melbourne victorious in the Greek derby by 2 goals to 1.